should have told him no. Too late, I'm willing to consent. He says he will, so crazy heart stay still. Await the thrill and be content. In the land of promises, again am I, riding high until I fall. Someone grandly promises the earth, the sky. Why should I believe it all? When you adore someone, though you are no one's fool, you'll pretty soon become one, open to ridicule. In the land of promises, where love is blind, there you'll find a foolish few, just like me, who could not see, yet hoped to be one day. In the land of promises come true. Where were you yesterday, dear? How did you find your way here? You're in a mess, but stay here. In the land of promises, I'll stand my ground, and my sound won't be a sigh. Soon now he will come for me, and you will see this hand wave the land of promises.
That song, which you may not know, comes from the musical Maggie May, which opened at the Adelphi Theatre in September 1964. The words and the music were written by the man whose great gift for making words and music sing and dance in the imaginations of millions we are here tonight to celebrate. But before I tell you about him, a little artful suspense here just to keep you on your toes. Let me tell you about Maggie May. Maggie May, how do we describe her? She was, to put it delicately, she was a night worker in the oldest profession in the world. And she put in the odd day shift too if the price was right. But really she was a metaphor for the city whose waterfront she covered, Liverpool, that tough, brash, sentimental town. Alan Owen, who provided the book for Maggie May, described his hometown once as a sly wink from a fancy woman. Give him your wink. That's it. On Sean Kenny's extraordinary, remarkable setting, the show provided a kaleidoscope, an epic kaleidoscope, of the life and death in those turbulent docklands. At its heart was this strange love story between Maggie and Joe Casey, the son of one of the great Dockland trade union heroes. So, let's go back to Liverpool back to the lady named Margaret Mary Duffy, known to her lovers from Lime Street to Buenos Aires as Maggie May.
Now, Maggie, you're only a victim of the same class struggle as us, so just leave off the scoffing. Our union comes first.
Not with me, it doesn't. Not with us, it doesn't. There's only one union I approve of, which entre nous only two can create.
To and fro is the motion I move on. Who'll be the likely candidate?
It doesn't need a show of hands. We're both
agreed.
The motion stands. It works out great. Why arbitrate? The TUC is free to see just how my membership expands. There's only one union that's united. Every discreet members meeting is fun. Do come along, all your wrongs will be righted. There's only one union.
There's only one union I approve of, which entre nous only two can create. To and fro is the motion I move on. Who'll be the likely candidate? It doesn't need a show of hands. We're both agreed. The motion stands. It works out great. Why arbitrate?
The TUC is free to see just how my membership expands. There's only one union that's united. Every discreet members meeting is fun. Do come along, all your wrongs will be righted. There's only one union.
Yes, it's back I am from the great eternal city, with his cardinals and bishops and film stars and all. Sent a telegram which came late, so was the pity. So guess who was not available when I came to call? Though I may sometimes appear anti-Britain when I'm here, when I'm away from home, I wave me old red, white and blue, patriotic through and through. They say that when in Rome, you must do as the Romans do. Still spaghetti ruins you. The sole mio ain't much fun to see. I'd much rather be over here where the dear old rain comes pounding down all summer long on our hometown. So keep your St. Peter's Dome. At least a bucket full of sand, clogs me toothbrush and me comb. I'll never stray away from home. Right, lads, a little bit of home, if you please. Now, lads, we must all answer one day to the Supreme Arbitration Courts. So forget all your differences. Remember only the bare cues of our old enemies. Forget that Georgie was a drummer in the Orange Band. Remember only his lightning passes on the Liverpool Butterfield, eh? A real player, right? But Georgie is dead, and so we must honour him as we would honour ourselves. For a start, here's my quid.
Ain't much fun.
I get your money in here, right?
Ain't much fun.
Ain't nothing pennies in here, right?
Over here, where the dear old
Cash pouring in.
Oh,
come along and fill the tin. Right. I know which one of you, so no sneaking off with the gents, right? Go on, lads. Right. East or west, home is the best, my friends. I'll never stray away. I'll never stray away from home. You can always tell a man by the company he keeps, right?
Well, you're right there, Mr. Morgan. You can always tell a man by the company he keeps. Well, you've got yours. And I've got mine. Only mine's gear. Why do they all know Maggie? Why do they love her so? No Judy holds a candle up to her. But mister, if you've missed darling Maggie off your list, then you're not the afterman you thought you were. Oh, Maggie, Maggie May, pack your bags and come away, and we'll do the things we didn't do before. Loving her is so sublime, charge me double all the time, and you'll never walk down Land Street anymore. Set 'em up there. Now here's a little lesson for all you little girls. Those airs and graces won't get you nowhere. Why not put what you've got on the table while it's hot, and let everybody have a share? Like Maggie, Maggie May, who's been giving it away, and it's me she'll soon be adding to the score. Loving her is so sublime, charge me double over time, and you'll never walk down Land Street anymore. Now here's a little lesson to all you little girls. Those airs and graces won't get you nowhere. You have been, so they say, quite a beauty in your day, but your reputation's Maggie's now. Oh, Maggie, Maggie May, who's been giving her away, how the lady will be calling in galore. Hear me plead me only crime, yeah, I freed you in your prime, and you'll never walk down Land Street anymore. No, you'll never walk down Land Street anymore. Oh, Maggie, Maggie May, now they've taken her away. How can Liverpool be what it was before? Some rotten mother founder has got his grip around her, and she'll never walk down Land Street anymore. Oh, Maggie, Maggie May, now they've taken her away. How can Liverpool be what it was before? Some rotten mother founder has got his grip around her, and she'll never walk down Land Street anymore. No, she'll never walk down Land Street anymore. Come on, lads.
introduction to the music of our maestro, Mr. Lionel Bart, for it is he. Did you guess or did you buy a programme? Welcome formally to the Dome and to the third of our Brighton Cares spectaculars, renamed now the Muppet Show. I only hope to God that whoever built this was nobody I've ever reviewed. If I'd wanted to be this high, I'd have grown. I'm very pleased that we started with Maggie May, because I always believe that musical was way ahead of its time. And I'm very proud to announce that the National Youth Theatre, which really appear to have adopted Lionel as its patron saint, along with Prince Edward, as I was going to say the fairy godmother. But you obviously know something I don't. Can you stick to my script, please? The patron and president. However, the National Youth Theatre are going to stage a major London revival of Maggie May in the near future, and you heard it here first. To start the Lionel Bart stories is really quite difficult. It's very difficult to know where to begin. To make a musical in itself, there are so many strands, and indeed it has. In the 50s, he was writing pop songs and chart hits for the likes of Tommy Steele, Cliff Richards, Adam Faith, and Alma Cogan. By the time Beatlemania came along in the 60s, he was already the czar of Shaftesbury Avenue, commanding and dominating the West End musical stage as nobody has done until the advent of Andrew Lloyd Webber. Andrew Lloyd Banks. I don't know why anybody sniggers whenever poor Andrew's name's mentioned, because I always think that anybody who can look like that and write Phantom of the Opera has to have a sense of humour. Please don't let that get back. I know your faces, I know where you live. If you ask Lionel what he was doing in the 70s, he just grins and says, "Oh, kipped." Well, while he was kipping, unfortunately, a great many people, fair weather friends, helped him drain away a great proportion of that fortune. And by the time he woke up again in the 80s and came back among us whole and healed and bopping and raring to go, he found that he had the most expensive kip since Rip Van Winkle. Now, how to tell all this? Well, we've jumped in the middle with Maggie May, and I suppose that's about the best place to start with somebody like Lionel, because you never know where he's going to turn up next. You're never sure quite what he's going to do when he does, but you can be certain of one thing, that as with Maggie May, you're in for a good time, dearie. Noel Coward always used to admonish him. Noel Coward was one of his earliest admirers and mentors, and he used to finger wag. He was a great finger wag, and he used to say, "Lionel, you only work in your spare time." Well, it was sort of true, but of course, in that spare time, he produced an entire canon of work, that a tiny proportion of which you'll see on the stage tonight, and among it is the musical that's associated forever with his name, wherever it's mentioned, Oliver. Why should we postpone the obvious any longer? It is one of the great musicals of all time, and I do believe that the entire course of the British musical changed on the 30th of July 1960 on Oliver's opening night. Lionel, by that time, had thought he'd bitten off rather more than he could chew, but it was his first venture, actually, as the supplying lyrics and the music, which he'd done before, but also the libretto, and he sat in that first night for as long as he could, and then just had to flee the theatre, and he went walk around Soho for quite a time. When he got back, the show was actually over, and he heard this terrifying sound, a sound that we all dread, the sound of an audience baying in unison. To an artist, it can mean just one thing, and that's the bird. So he was just about to turn and flee again into the night when a friend grabbed him, propelled him towards the stage. All the time Lionel was wailing, "But they're booing, they're booing." And the friend eventually shoved him on and said, "No, they're shouting, 'Author, author, author.'" And they were. That was probably the last time that sound was ever heard in a London theatre. I've certainly never heard it in the last 30 years. Of course, the songs from Oliver are now so familiar to us all that we seem to have almost been born with them on the tips of our tongues. They've been recorded and immortalised by the best and the greatest, by Garland, by Mathis, by Bassi, and they're murdered in every pub and club where anybody comes a touch sentimental. You must have heard them. They are part of our language. Here tonight are just a few of them, and do forgive us if we've left out your particular favourite. Oliver!
Where is love? needs me. Oh, yes, he does need me. In spite of what you see, I'm sure that he needs me. Who else would love him still when they've been used so ill? He knows I always will, as long as he needs me. I miss him so much when he is gone, but when he's near me, I don't let on the way I feel inside, the love I have to hide, the hell I've got, my pride, as long as he needs me. He doesn't say the things he should, he acts the way he thinks he should, but all the same I'll play this game of his, as long as he needs me. I know where I shall be. I'll cling on steadfastly, as long as he needs me, as long as life is long. I'll love him right or wrong, and somehow I'll be strong, as long as he needs me. If you are lonely, then you will know when someone needs you, he'll love them so. I won't betray his trust, though people say I must. I've got to stay true just as long as he needs me.
Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself well in. Consider yourself part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares what have we got to share? If
If it's a chance to be, we should see some harder days. Empty larder days, white grouse. Always my chance to meet somebody to foot the bill. Then the drinks are on the house. Consider yourself, oh mate, we don't want to have no fuss. For after some consideration we can stay. Consider yourself one of us. Consider yourself,
Oh, mate.
consider yourself.
One of the family?
We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself,
Well, in.
consider yourself part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares what have we got to share? Nobody tries to be la-di-da enough for tea. There's a cup of tea for all. Only it's wise to be handy with the rolling pin when the landlord comes to call. Consider yourself, our mate. We don't want to have no fuss. For after some consideration we can say, consider yourself one of us. Consider yourself at home. Take to you so strong. Consider yourself well in. There isn't a lot to spare. If there's a chance to be, we should see some harder days. Empty larder days, white grouse. Always a chance to meet somebody to foot the bill. Then the drinks are on the house. Consider yourself, our mate. We don't want to have my fuss. For after some consideration we can stay. Consider yourself one of us. Consider yourself our mate. Consider yourself one of the family. We came to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself well in. Consider yourself one of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares what every got to share? If it's a chance to be, we should see some harder days. Empty larder days, white grouse. Always a chance to meet somebody to foot the bill. Then the drinks are on the house. Consider yourself, our mate. We don't have no fuss. For after some consideration we can stay. Consider yourself one of us.
Well, of course, Oliver put the world at Lionel Bart's feet, and a very merry dance he proceeded to do around it. The impact in the theatre of Oliver, of course, was almost as much visual as it was musical, because it was conceived in collaboration from the very outset with his great friend, the late Sean Kenny, that designer and really engineer of genius. I can't promise you any of the pyrotechnics they pioneered in that opening production. We just might fly the odd helicopter among you and drop the odd chandelier on you. But to Kenny and Bart, of course, that would be very small beer indeed. The film, when it was made in Hollywood, was nominated for 11 Oscars, a record, and won 7. Of course, the moguls of Universal Studios thought that Lionel Bart was the biggest thing to happen to them since the talkies, and they offered him everything he wanted. He could write, he could direct, he could produce any musical he wished. And to this end, they installed him in the vastest bungalow on the Universal lot. Lionel was in his happy phase at this time, and he installed huge inflatable nursery-style furniture and a teddy bear, a life-size teddy bear called Spencer, after Spencer Tracy, his favourite film star. There was only one telephone allowed in the bungalow on a desk, and that was Spencer's desk. Spencer sat at it, so not a lot of calls got answered. Spencer even had to be driven around in chauffeur-driven limousines, and his photograph had to be on Lionel's notepaper. Well, Universal Studios went along with this. You know, Van Gogh was a genius, you know, and he cut off his ear. You know, he's a guy, he's a genius. They let him go on for 9 months, whining and dining. And then they got a little bit worried, as moguls are likely to do when they don't see results. So they called him up to the penthouse at the top of Universal Studios, the executive suite there. So obviously Spencer was taking calls on that day. Lai doesn't really remember an awful lot of what transpired between them. He does remember that he didn't take his hat off. And he does remember a row of very grey men, the accountants, the producers, sitting there at executive desks in front of him, sober. Isn't it dispiriting? Mr. Bart, where's our musical, they said. Inia, he grinned. Do you know, those were the worst 2 words he ever said. That was the end of Spencer's rides in limousine, that was the end of the bungalow, and that was more or less the end of Lionel's Hollywood holiday. However, he had followed Oliver on the London stage in 1962 with nothing less ambitious than the Second World War. Noel Coward, again, described it as just as long as the real thing and twice as noisy. The Times was kinder. They described it as Mother Courage in petticoats. Blitz was really Lionel's East End childhood. It was his growing up in the war, his Jewish mother and his aunties. And the camaraderie, the conflict that went on in that community. And again, typically Bart, it had guts, it had humour, and it had romance. A Romeo and Juliet love story, which was as true to the heartbeat of the East End streets as West Side Story was. I'm sorry, vertigo is freezing my teeth. This is awful. As West Side Story was to New York. Ladies and gentlemen, grab your tin hats and your gas masks, head for the shelters. It's Blitz.
Littler, he would disappear. He's a nasty little bastard with a black moustache, and we won't have him here. He was a paper wrangler when he started his career as Mrs. Schickelgruber's only son. Oh, dear Reynolds got a shock if he thinks he's coming here. We don't want any paper wrangling done. So, who's this geezer Riddler? Who does he think he is? We'll show the Führer and surer that he will soon get here. If he was much littler, he would disappear. He's a nasty little bastard with a black moustache, and we won't have him here. They say he had a father, and his father had his fun. He stayed around to see how long it lasted. Then Adolf came along and his papa went on the run. And that's why poor old Adolf is a bastard. Sir Riddler, who does he think he is? We'll show the Führer and surer that he will soon get his. If he was much littler, he would disappear. He's a nasty little bastard with a black moustache, and we won't have him they think he is. And we're surer than surer that he will soon get his. If he was such little lad, he would disappear. He's a nasty little basket with a black moustache, and we won't have him here.
Here, Harry. What? Come here. I want to whisper something.
What? What?
I think I've fallen in love.
You must be mad.
I tell you, this is something
What? Rot.
I never ever dreamed of.
Pity the lad.
I never ever reckoned
Bombs are dropping.
it happened in 1 second.
L's are popping.
But like they say, love beckons.
Are you stopping, you schmuck?
And look, it's got me like this, so let me whisper her name.
Well?
You know her terribly well.
I know you're
You
mad.
use the same strange surname.
Carrie?
But you'd better not tell.
You can't.
If she said she'd love me, there'd be no secrecy. I'd want the whole wide world to hear.
So what'll I hear?
I'm in love with Carrie Blistone, loud and clear. I'm in love. I'm in love. I'm in love. Who'd ever think I'd fall in love? So let me whisper secrets that you must never repeat. And for at least a week, let's try to keep it really discreet. If she said she'd love me, there'd be no secrecy. I'd want the whole wide world to hear. I'm in love with Carrie Blistone, loud and clear.
you realize wherever you may go, I'm waiting here. Till then, should you be lonely, just think of me, and we'll never be really apart. You
plot afoot. There's a plot afoot which involves a little lady and a shady local inn. There's a plot afoot where a little lady wavers and her favours I shall win.
He thinks that we think there's nothing to be done. He'll go and I'll go, and when he thinks he's won, you'll find that he'll find that two can have their fun. He's got a plot,
But we've got a plot, there's a plot afoot, to a folk of Constantinople or the folk of Sac Beirut. There's a plot afoot, yes, it's murmured in the city, there's a pretty plot afoot.
There's a plot afoot. Someone's tampered with the young mistress.
there's a plot afoot to release a certain party who's a party upstart. There's a plot afoot to invite into my closet and deposit all my heart.
I've got a plot,
But we've got a plot, there's a plot afoot. You can bet a pint of swill on where the villain will be put. There's a plot afoot. Yes, it's murmured in the
city, there's a pretty plot afoot.
Patience is a virtue very few possess, and I confess I feel myself possess it less and less. But then, if you've already lost one virtue, how on earth can losing one more hurt you? When does the ravishing begin? You could burst me with a pin, so much sin I'm holding in. Men come and catch a sitting hen who is contemplating, when does the ravishing begin? Lord, must I wait in this state for the pretty fellow, or illustrate what they made him a pretty fellow? For I've a mind to incline to the pretty fellow more and more. Oh, when does the ravishing begin? Though my smile is coy and winsome, it's fixing in a grin. I'm in his grip, but he will not take a liberty. Oh, when does the ravishing begin? La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. When does the ravishing begin? You could burst me with a pin, so much sin I'm holding in. Men come and catch a sitting hen who is contemplating, when does the ravishing begin? I should swoon very soon, for the fellow has me weak at the thought of the sport, and the fellow has me meek and as mild as a child, till the fellow has me cheek to cheek. No. Oh, when does the ravishing begin? Though my smile is coy he would not take a liberty. Oh, when does the ravishing begin? When does the ravishing begin?
For your wife is yours to have and to hold, sir. Do anything but in her confide. Be secret and deep and keep what you keep on the side. On the side. You must lead her to believe she can trust you, and never let her see that you've lied. When she's not in view, who cares what you do? Be secret and deep and keep what you keep on the side. On the side. When you're sitting on a bench in a courtroom, you double all the fines to provide a trifle for your purse, which your wife will not disperse. When she's not in view, who cares what you do? Be secret and deep and keep what you keep on the side. On the side. You must get the most you can out of justice. And justice is a term that is wide. A misguided girl to judge, when she can judge, or a trifle for your purse, which your wife will not disperse. When she's not in view, who cares what you do? Be secret and deep and keep what you keep on the side. On the side. On the side.
Did not all your frowns arise because so much rape and rape we bore? Or is it that we have no rape at all? Indeed, our poet, to oblige the age, had brought a dreadful scene upon the stage. But I, proceeding what his muse would drive at, told him the ladies never would connive at a downright actual rape, unless in private. So let no fears of such a fate affright the beauteous, kind spectators of tonight. Safe to your husband's arms may you escape, and never know that dreadful thing, a rape. Lock up your daughters, here comes the rape. Lock up your daughters, their chastity's at stake. Here is the man with one thought in his head, who cannot quote and is walking to bed. Go round and lock up the locksmith to lock up your daughters now. Lock up your daughters, springs in the air. Lock up your daughters, for wedding rings are rare. You'll be amazed at the things they can tell. Into it they are not in before 12. Wind every clock up and you better lock up your daughters now. Lock up your daughters safely at home. Lock up your daughters where fancy cannot roam. Out on the streets there are others like me, looking for possible mothers to be. Filming a startup and you better lock up your daughters now.
Welcome back to Bart. This is still me, by the way. I brought this change of clothes along because I thought if the first half didn't go too well, you might think it was somebody totally different when I came back. And then I thought, well, if you've got it, flaunt it. It's a sad thing, isn't it, when all you've got to flaunt is a suit. Well, as you see, we've again added to the confusion of our chronology by starting the second half with one of Lionel's very earliest successes. Lock Up Your Daughters was the 1959 show that launched the Mermaid Theatre. For the record, Lionel did not conceive the story, Henry Fielding did, and he did not write the music, Laurie Johnson did. But by the time Bernard Miles revived the show, only 3 short years after it was first conceived, such was the fame of his name that the posters billed lyrics by Lionel Bart bigger than the title. Now, it's the last show that he ever, in the West End, that he ever only supplied the lyrics to somebody else's music, because by then he joined that very elite band of people who write their own words to their own music. It is indeed a very, very select club. I mean, think of Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, and of course Noel Coward and Lionel Bart, and you've almost run out there's a story that illustrates what I'm really trying to say. There was a dinner given in tribute to Jerome Kern, the great Jerome Kern, in New York, and he was introduced as the man who wrote Old Man River. When she came to pay her tribute, which she did very graciously, Dorothy Hammerstein said, "I just want to correct one thing. Jerome Kern did not write Old Man River. Jerome Kern wrote da 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 da. Oscar Hammerstein II wrote Old Man River, that Old Man River." It is a God-given gift to find the right phrase to hang the tune into your head forever. Of course, they do say those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first grant their wishes. And by the end of the 60s, Lionel had got everything he could wish for. He'd got 3 shows running in London. He'd got a castle in Spain. He got a fleet of fast and very, very expensive cars. And he got a home in Fulham, which boasted 25 bathrooms. Who wants to be so clean? They used to call it the Fun Palace in the papers. And at the Fun Palace, Lionel used to play host to the world, its wife and its mistress. The Burtons, the Beatles, the Stones, Princess Margaret, Marlene Dietrich, of course Noel Coward. They were just part of the cast at a never-ending party that went on, well into the 60s and into just a little of the 70s. But then and then, Lionel decided to bring Robin Hood to the musical stage. Now, the show was actually conceived as a really cheap and cheerful send-up of the Sherwood legend, and bringing in the Crusades. But of course, Bart, being so big at that time, it grew out of all proportion to its potential. I mean, Joan Littlewood was brought in, that great innovator, was brought in to direct it. Oliver Messel, the darling of high society, was brought in to design it, and Bernard Delfont, the emperor of commercial theatre in the West End, was going to produce it. Well, just the thought of those 3 as artistic bedfellows would send wise men heading for the hills. And sure enough, not only did they start to fall out, they started to drop out. Meanwhile, the press, as the press always will, stood by with poisoned pens poised. Twang goes clang. That was banner headlines in that organ of taste and culture, The Sun. Rosemarie's favourite bedtime reading. Lionel stood by. You see, but you all read it, don't you? You must have done. Wicked people. But Lionel stood by them all. He wrote endless new scripts, and he provided 30 new songs. But by the time the last of the vanishing backers also dropped out, he decided that he alone would bankroll the entire enterprise. Now, Noel Coward, again, with his finger wagging, used to say, "Lionel, never put your own money into your own work." Of course, he did, and by the time the show reached its 41st performance in London's West End, that money had run out, and so, for a short time, had Lionel's luck. However, we believe that there is still gold to be mined in them thar hills, so do come down to the woods tonight and be sure of a big surprise. Let us hie to Sherwood and go camping in the forest with Robin and Alan Adale and Will Scarlett and the rest of the men who are not so much merry as downright vivacious. To Wang.
If I was standing you twitch, why is there no? But since you have the nerve to pass where the men have dreamt, I'll tell you in non-geography.
Geography?
I'll tell you in non-mythology. A myth is a myth, and a man is a man. Oh, my little Mary Jane, a sevenfold. Yes, yes, yes! Oh, welcome to Sherwood.
with yours.
Welcome to Shower Performance. Staying while just passing through.
Little John,
With the number one.
I'm going to get things done.
Sherwood, welcome to you. Welcome to Sherwood Forest, birthplace of legend and fun.
Where Scarlet in this valley, where this many men
Now, good, around.
thanks to my ingenuity,
Welcome to Sherwood
bodies staying or just passing through. Guiding light, Sherwood, welcome you. Welcome to Sherwood Forest, birthplace of legend and fun.
Merry men come but further on. I always bring them.
Staying or just passing through, where the outlaws roam, be they far from home. Sherwood welcomes you.
It's not too much.
Sherwood welcomes you.
I keep my sheep in touch.
Sherwood welcomes you. Where there's a way, there's will. Sherwood welcomes you.
The big ones top the bill.
Sherwood welcomes you.
Pass along.
Sherwood welcomes you.
They don't go far.
Sherwood welcomes you. Thank you.
Thinking back on the happy days when the world bid us no harm. We were young in those happy days as we took each other's arm. We didn't know things old, it was all things new, things that we were told it was wrong to do. Me and you. No farewells and no goodbyes. Love, I'm ready to close my eyes. If you have to wander away, wander. Time ago and time again, I have waited and wondered when you would no more wander away, wander. What does it matter if he's not with you? Just when you need his hand, trust what he has to give you. Nobody else need understand. For me, my friend, no farewell look. Read the ending of any book, and they always wonder
to reply.
Get no wit.
Are we tempting you to tread the naughty way?
With bells on.
Hard to play.
With bells on.
Where the frolics are rich. If you want the life of frolic, danger mixed with fun.
You are in distinguished company. We agree with him entirely. We are for fun. With bells on. For fun. With bells on. Giggle, gaggle, and sing. From the court of his enchantment, we just walk away. Life's a game with no rules, boundaries. Anyone can play.
Whether you are 2 years old or 92 years young, youth entitles you to stray along.
Whether we're 1,000 folders young,
With bells on. With bells on.
to have a ding dong. Come on, Delphina.
Oh no, I'm going to go with this merry march.
You'll regret it.
Goodness gracious, children, just another lamb is lost. Let us welcome her into the fold.
There's a special treat must that a lamb.
With bells on.
Oh, be blessed with bells on. I'd have thought him too old.
Men are young when they're desirous to fulfill a need. Men like us need love to virus to perform great deeds.
Could you do some doubtful cartwheels?
Anything you say,
Lift me on his back to prove it.
just to show you
strike my bow and fan my quiver. Now for something completely different, and not a moment before time. It's time to welcome another of our special guests, and time to remind you of the young man, so full of promise, who came to the West End from the East End, the up-and-coming Lionel Beglighter. Yes, Beglighter. Lionel was born the youngest of 7 surviving children of a rather poor Polish immigrant Jewish family in the East End, and he was also the youngest member ever to be accepted at the St. Martin's School of Art. He was 14 at the time. Extraordinary, isn't it? Quentin Crisp was his first model in his very first life class, and Soho was his playground. And he was a very fast learner, a very precocious lad. So what Mrs. Beglighter didn't know, Mrs. Beglighter could only sit at home and worry about. So here, from his pop portfolio, is a song that just about sums up what every good Jewish mother does not want to hear about her son. It comes from Lionel's salad days, his mixed salad days, and I'm going to introduce it in his own words. I'll spare you the singing. I'm sorry, I've had the teeth fixed in the interval, but the eyes have packed in now. More and more working people are taking their holidays on the continent. Unfortunately, most of them have to return to Blighty after a short 2 weeks. But here's a story of a Cockney lad who stayed and stayed and stayed.
Young Fred Rees, riding home from Nice, to his darling mum in Parsons Green. Not one word had his dear mum heard from a darling boy of 17. Since he went away on a holiday, camping with the local boys' brigade. Now at long last a letter, after 1 whole year a letter, scribbled out on hotel paper, perfume sprayed, said Freddie, dear mum, your son has become a gigolo. Dear mum, I'm leading a lordly life. You should see me on the plaza with me mate the Maharaja when I date the Maharini, that's his wife. Tell Pop there's plenty of opportunities for any strong enterprising lad. There's a fortune to be made here if you understand the trade, dear. And I'm having the best of all there is to be had. There's Lady Stroud with a silver cloud. Fridays, I'm her chauffeur for the day. There's Mrs. X, sends me weekly checks. She likes to have her breakfast on a tray. And who would ever guess, me pal the Baroness just turned 64 last August gone. No, you'd never know it, never. We get on so well together. Though it's true, I have to do the getting on. Well, she's a bit deaf, you see. Dear mum, I had to become a gigolo. I didn't reckon the boys' brigade. So I opted down to Menton. When I saw the things that went on, I realised that's where me future laid. Now I'm the rage of the Riviera. I drive the other contenders mad. Every other handsome garçon might as well just move and pass on. 'Cause I'm having the best of all there is to be had. To be had! Give my regards to 'em all in Parsons Green. Life there for me was a trifle slow. You can tell 'em that your Fred's out on a good job testing beds out. You can tell them all I'm making it big, 'cause none of the neighbours ever would dig. Your son is a gigolo. Ta-da.
We'll let you know. Fortunately for Lionel, he had these bankable hits like Living Doll and all the Tommy Steele movies, so he didn't have to go quite to those lengths to make his fortune. He did, however, take up with an older woman who changed and enriched his life, as she did with so many other people, Joan Littlewood. She'd just set up her legendary workshop, theatre workshop, in Stratford East, and Lionel, ever the boy to know which way the breeze was blowing, was one of her stock company from its earliest times. He provided jingles and tunes and lyrics for most of those very early productions, and it was she who convinced him that he could provide the words and the music for a full-length musical. So, with almost surreal lack of logic, which you may have noticed as the evening has drawn on, we arrive back to the show which began it all for Lionel Bart, née Beglighter. It was set among the places and the people that he knew best, Soho, and when it transferred to the West End from Stratford East, starring Miriam Carlin and Barbara Windsor, it gave the country a whole new catchphrase. When you hear these marvellous, life-loving tunes, you know instinctively that here's a spirit that's made of optimism and India rubber, the sort of man who's built to bounce back and beat the bad times, the bad health, the bad deals, the booze and the blues, and come up smiling and serene, full of new projects, new ventures, and, dare one say it, happy endings. So, for Lionel Bart, for us all, will you remember with affection, and pardon my accent, that things ain't what they used to be.
Here, Fred. Do you remember when we first met?
In bed.
I thought you was wearing your gas mask.
Yeah.
Cool, blimey. You was Razor King of the Manor.
Yeah, and you were a bright young brass down Dean Street.
Yeah, takes you back, doesn't it?
Done it.
I used to lead a lovely life of sin. Down, I charged a ton, till it became an undercover game. Who wants to read a postcard in a window? Massaging done. Somehow the business doesn't seem the same. It's a very different scene. Well, you know what I mean.
Shoot a bell.
There's toffs with toffee noses and pools in coffee houses and things ain't what they used to be. There's short time, low life without rockery.
Things ain't what they used to be. They used to be glass, doing the town, by the bit of voice.
And that's when a bra could go down under the Union fries. Cool, not likely.
Who wants in a golden days so your ponces killed a lady or things ain't what they used to be. Oh, yeah. Fantastic girl.
I haven't lost the touch.
Cops from a university, dropsy, what a curse it is. Things ain't what they used to be. Big hoods, now a little hoods. Gamblers, now do little woods. Things ain't what they used to be.
There used to be school.
Pounds of the pound, plus across the face. There used to be tools, flashing around.
Oh, for the bad old days. Remember.
Out we used to over an eye go and use but the things they what they used to
Try the what they used to
things
ain't what they used to be.
Oh, here. Now.
you slimy little git now. Get back.
I didn't do it.
Go on.
Now.
Well, here we are, boys, on an infamous beat, observing the joys of an infamous street. Attend to your poise, you forget your flat feet, 'cause here we are, boys.
Here we are, boys.
It's easy to see when to make an arrest. You can take it from me that a bobby knows best who's gonna be Her Majesty's guest. It's easy to see.
It's easy to see.
And when you're testifying in the law court,
Pen,
stop thinking your promotion's very near.
pad,
His honour will be prying into your thoughts. Address the facts unto him, loud and clear, so we can hear. Proceeding in a westerly direction, saw a lady importuning in the street.
in the street,
After giving her a cursory inspection, say nothing, I continued on my beat.
Good night, dearie. Good night, honey. She's getting company. She's still weary. She's got money. They're thinking night I'm free. Good night, darling. Good night, sailor. Still fit for fun. Good night, dearie. Good night, honey. Good night, everyone.
Proceeding in the usual procedure. In the AXA is where they should be caught.
Should be caught.
But, Your Honour, it's a merry dance they lead ya.
they lead ya.
It was busy, and the time was getting short.
Good night, dearest. Good night, darling. She's getting company. She's still weary. Too much money. They're thinking life on free. Good night, sisters. Good night, Cecil. We've had too much fun. Good night, dearest. Good night, darling. Good night, everyone.
Continuing.
I got an hole in my long black woolen stocking. Oh, what? An hole. Well, mend it, you silly whore.
The aforesaid line of action,
Of action,
I discovered the defendant in the act.
in the act,
When I booked them, they denied a cash transaction
transaction,
and informed me they were friends in point of fact.
Do you know something? I came on at 6 o'clock this morning. Oh, what a terrible time to come on. Well, you gotta have it when it comes.
Here, how much do you get?
£2 an hour.
Do you know something?
What?
You've been done.
Well, you gotta have it when it comes. Do you know something else? He's finished. This whole lot is finished. Ain't you, darlings?
on seeing that authority was thwarted, by proper recognition of the law. Well, I only thought it ought to be reported. Our copper has to recognise her.
Good night, dearie. Good night, honey. She's any company. She's still weary. You got money. They're thinking I'm not free. I'm dearie. I'm sailor. Still fit for fun. I'm dearie. I'm honey. Good night, everyone. My dearie. I'm honey. She's any company. Still weary. You got money. They're free. I'm free. I'm dearie. I'm sailor. Still fit for fun. Sailor, honey. Good night.
I feel you on my beat.
Sooner or later, everyone has got to yell contemporary.
Contemporary.
Soon as the paint is on the wall, and you will know contemporary.
Contemporary.
In my house, I've got rubber plants and cactuses. Believe me, sir, I preach is what I practice as. For a small expenditure, you too can be contemporary.
They're changing the guard at Buckingham Palace.
No! Oliver Messley's full of melons. They're painting the wall, the face of the yard.
Get him off straight to match the guard.
No! And Alice! Eyes! Right? Sooner or later, everyone has got to go contemporary.
Contemporary.
Look at the lampposts up and down the rotten row. Contemporary.
Contemporary.
There's coffee tables, 1 foot high to trap your knees. Descending to the level of the Japanese. So who's going to be the geisha golden?
Contemporary. Colours.
And not the same two twice.
Colours.
And never mind the price.
Colours.
You must have colours. For you like pizza, the colours are nice. Have you ever caught your builder in a game with his paintbrush in his hand? He'll do anything you ask him within reason. Everything's you'll understand. There's a little spot just waiting to be kindled. You've been swindled up till now. Come and have a sweat and find my note, and I will show you how.
Sooner or later, everyone has got to go contemporary.
Contemporary. Over the mantelpiece we'll have a Picasso. Contemporary.
Contemporary.
So chuck away your Coca-Cola calendars. You'll be amazed at what a little talent does. So here's the Jeep and furniture.
And it's yours by Henry Moore.
And here's the stripes on every door that you will see. Contemporary.
Very different, God.
Gosh, look at that clothes. What is this? Who is this girl?
She rather looks like Lolita, darling.
Oh, I say. Patsy, don't you think we're a little overdressed for this occasion? Perhaps we should go.
Honey, if we don't finish this number, they'll go.
Right. This place
used to be
a
a
rave. Now it's one foot in the grave. Things are what they used to be. I tried looking sweet, so competing with Lolita, but
things aren't what they used to be. There used to be Noel, terribly tired. Where are his friends today? They're all in the Doel, drably attired. How can a guy go gay on Moss Bros?
clothes don't make a man, my dear, but you do what you can, my dear. Things aren't what they used to.
Time's right for the booster. Things aren't what they used to be.
It's too light within the long known
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to be back here again for, the fourth time in this theatre. And my name is Bernard Jay. I'm the producing director of the charity Brighton Cares. I'd just like to spend a few minutes with you. It occurred to me the other day how lucky I am as a producer to be able to have a thought one day that I'd like to do a musical about my favorite composer. And not only that, I'd like to choose all the songs without anybody arguing about it. I'd like to have 200 actors do it. I'd like to have a wonderful orchestra of 24, 62 in the staff, take 2 days of the largest theatre in Brighton, and not even have to raise any money to do it. And here we are. Thanks to 252 people that have been working 10 months now, working without pay, working voluntarily to help a charity and to put together a musical. It's amazing. They're a wonderful bunch of people. But I think what's most amazing of all about tonight, I don't normally come on here and thank any individual one person because that's wrong. Everybody's worked so hard. But when we first had this idea, I really thought it's silly to do a tribute to a composer without telling the composer and taking the liberty of asking him if he'd approve. So Lionel Bart was in Australia at the time, 10 months ago. And I called him on the phone and I said, look, you don't know who I am, you don't know who we are, and we're actually a charity. And there was a long pause, and I said, no, I'm not asking for your money. I'm told that's not much good. I'd like to ask you if we can perform your songs. And not only that, I'd like to ask you if you'll approve and be enthusiastic and be supportive and let me come to you every now and again and ask you questions and help find the music. And will you come and see it? And he listened, and he met me in London, and he's been in touch ever since, and he has been wonderfully supportive and so enthusiastic. He cared about the charity, he cared about why we were doing it, and he just threw himself into it wholeheartedly. He came down here to publicize it, he's mixed with the company, he's given us advice. So may I just tonight say thank you very much indeed, Lionel Bart, for having the faith in a group of amateur actors to do your work tonight on this stage. Thank you. But why are we here? We're here not just to entertain you, but of course we're here to raise money. We are a charity called Brighton Cares. And a lot of people have asked in the 2 years now that we've been doing these shows and we've existed as a charity, they've said, well, you know, it's great you do these shows and you raise money, but what do you do with the money? How do you spend it? Where does it go? We read things in the papers all the time now about not so good things about charities sometimes. Can you explain it? So I thought I'd just take a moment of your time tonight, if I may, to just explain a little bit about what we do and where the money goes. We try to help people living at home, locally, here in the Brighton and Hove area, who have the HIV virus or sometimes full-blown AIDS. The kind of help they need when they're not hospitalized is not necessary at the time, but they can no longer work because of the illness, is often quite small, but absolutely essential, urgent. We give out grants immediately we've raised the money by doing these shows, usually within a week, to applicants who need perhaps £30 to help pay an electricity bill that they can't pay and so we can keep heating on for the winter. To help perhaps buy a washer-dryer so that they can wash their bed linen as often as they need to and they can do it in the privacy of their own home. Because that's what dignity means. We try to help add a little extra dignity to their lives. There's no reason why you should lose any of that dignity just because you're ill. So what Brighton Cares does is give out grants of £25, £50, £100 as quickly as we can to people that write to us. We take good advice from doctors and from social workers. We're very careful where our money goes, but it goes directly. Through no middlemen, it doesn't go to a post office box in London. We know where the money is going, and we know who the people are, and we care about them. So your money, when you come here and you spend £5 or £8 on a theatre ticket, most of that goes directly the next week to help people. After we've paid our costs, and there are costs, we have to pay for this theatre, there are certain things we have to pay to be here, but we keep it to a minimum because everybody gives their time for free. So I'd like you to know that when you're contributing £5 or 50 pence for a raffle ticket, or perhaps, if you've got a little bit more money, £25 to come to our ball next month, that was a plug, please come. It goes a long way. You can help. If we can raise, I think hopefully we can raise £20,000 from these 2 nights here with Consider Yourself. When you're giving out grants of £25 or £50, we can help a lot of people. So, of course, when you go out tonight, there will be the buckets. It's inevitable. We need to raise more money over time. Please don't feel you have to put something in there. We don't want to embarrass you. Thank you for coming. But if you can afford to, however little it is, or however much it is, it helps. It's a great help. It really does go somewhere, everything you contribute. So thank you very much for coming here tonight. Thank you for helping. And most of all, thank you very much for continuing to care. Good night.
Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself part of the family. We're down to you, so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself willing. Consider yourself part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares what every got we share? It's a chance to be, we should see some holidays. Empty holidays, white crowds. Or it's a chance to meet somebody to foot a bill. When the drinks are on the out. Consider yourself well matched. We've got it out, like us. For all the some consideration we can stay. Consider yourself well.
One kiss, although I could have told us so. Too late, I'm willing to consent. She says she will, so crazy heart stay still.